This is the Nikola 1, a semi-truck designed to run on electricity and hydrogen, not diesel. It was unveiled to the world in December 2016, and at the time, investors seemed confident that it was a first step towards a hydrogen fuel-powered future.
It's my pleasure to introduce the Nikola 1 to the world.
After going public in June, Nikola's market cap briefly surpassed Ford, fueled by big promises made by founder Trevor Milton and a frenzy of investor excitement in the electric vehicle industry. But more recently, the EV startup has been mired in controversy.
Nikola shares are tumbling after a short seller called the company, quote, an intricate fraud built on dozens of lies.
Just months after the company's shares hit all-time highs, its stock has lost almost 80% of its value. This is the cautionary story of Nikola, the Wall Street darling that now faces federal investigations and an uncertain future.
We have essentially doubled the freight efficiency of our freight, and the first people in the world to ever do that on a diesel in the last long time.
In December 2016, when Nikola unveiled the prototype, founder Trevor Milton claimed the truck was fully functioning and that it had generated $2.3 billion in pre-sales in its first month. Investment from the auto industry began to flow in.
Investors are interested in electric cars because it's the future of the industry. Global warming, emissions targets, and government regulation are all kind of pushing in that direction.
Over the following year, Nikola quietly gained attention as Trevor Milton spoke at events and sold his vision to investors around the world. Here he is in Oslo, Norway.
I know right now I can provide Europe and Norway a truck that is 30% less than a diesel and is 100% zero emission.
The company's CEO not only promised a zero-emission hydrogen and electric truck, but the fuel and cross-country infrastructure of power stations to support it. 3 months later, the company released a video of its semi-truck. It represented it as in motion, leaving the viewer to interpret it as propelling itself. And just a few days later, Nikola announced plans for a 1 million square foot Arizona manufacturing facility that would provide 2,000 jobs.
So today, I am proud to announce that Nikola Motor Company is coming to Arizona.
Fast forward to April 2019. Nikola had another big announcement.
Introducing the most advanced semi-truck the world has ever seen. The first hydrogen production Class 8 truck that can beat a diesel in every category. Ladies and gentlemen, the Nikola 2.
When the company revealed the Nikola 2, they had not yet finished or sold any of the Nikola 1s. The company says that it was a successful proof of concept, but they never appeared to have finished or built or sold any of them. Nikola was really selling investors on an idea and a vision of the future, a zero-emission, transportation-heavy world that they not only made trucks for, but made and sold fuel for.
And Nikola seemed committed to that vision. In November, the company completed what it claimed was the first ever zero-emission beer delivery in partnership with Anheuser-Busch, which had previously put in an order for 800 hydrogen electric semi-trucks. And after the demonstration, public enthusiasm for the company continued to grow. When Nikola went public on June 4th, 2020, it shot out of the door. Just days later, Milton tweeted that orders would soon open for the all-electric Badger pickup truck. The next day, the company's stock doubled.
Shares of electric truck maker Nikola are rallying.
A day later, Nikola's market value briefly surpassed Ford, and the successes didn't stop. 2 months later, Nikola released an earnings report that it had lost $86 million in a quarter. But the EV startup quickly bagged another order, this time for 2,500 trucks from garbage giant Republic Services. Still, investor enthusiasm continued to grow, and on September 8th, Nikola announced a major new partnership with auto heavyweight General Motors.
Nikola Badger will be engineered and manufactured by GM, GM getting an 11% ownership stake in Nikola.
Trevor Milton was really kind of a consummate showman. He held these big events where he had these big reveals of trucks that may or may not have really functioned. He was capable at getting other companies to invest in his vision and lend their credibility to Nikola.
Sit back and watch what happens over the next 5 years. You're going to see Nikola become one of the most valuable brands in the world.
Just 4 years after unveiling its first truck prototype, Nikola was worth billions of dollars, and yet it still hadn't sold a single product. and as the world watched over the following weeks, its story began to unravel. On September 10th, short seller Hindenburg Research released a report that sent Nikola's stock plummeting.
They say the company has made false statements, it has rigged its truck reveals, and it's had misleading demonstrations.
One of the accusations was about that third-party video on Nikola's YouTube channel of the Nikola 1 prototype in motion.
The short seller alleged that to shoot this video, Nikola had simply pulled the truck up somewhat of a small hill and let it roll down. Nikola responded as a company saying that, they never represented the truck as driving under its own power, but I think a lot of commenters and observers felt that it was kind of a tacit admission that the short seller had kind of been right. I think there's definitely the threat of class action lawsuits, and some law firms are recruiting plaintiffs.
Federal prosecutors are looking for answers as well. On September 15th, the Wall Street Journal reported that the Department of Justice and the SEC were investigating claims that Nikola had misled investors. Many of these claims focused on Trevor Milton, Nikola's frontman. And just a week later, the founder and executive chairman resigned from the company's board. Following the news, shares of the EV startup plunged even further. Just days later, reports surfaced that Nikola's talks with partners to build hydrogen stations had stalled.
In the few weeks after the report came out on September 10th, Nikola lost about 45% of its market cap. The partnership that it had announced on September 8th with General Motors was supposed to close at the end of September and has not yet closed. It's started to affect Nikola's ability to attract and retain partners.
But at this key moment, Nikola doubled down.
The company reiterated its business plan and some milestones that it expects to hit over the next few years, and really kind of reasserted that it's focused right now on execution of its business plan in a post-Trevor Milton era.
Following this news, the truck maker's stock price began to slightly recover, and its new leadership seemed confident.
The company's been public for, 4 months? So, we're comfortable with the diligence we did.
A lot of analysts have actually reiterated that they do believe in Nikola, and that they ultimately see the moving on from Trevor Milton as a good thing for the company in the long run. But a lot of those analysts too have written about, Nikola's kind of need to reestablish credibility.
Even though customers have yet to flock to electric vehicles, big auto companies and investors are betting they will soon, fueling an interest in showy startups like Nikola.
The fact that the markets can both be so quickly taken with a company like Nikola and then quickly kind of disenchanted with that company in a matter of months is kind of a cautionary tale of some of the enthusiasm around electric vehicle startups and kind of betting it all on the future.
With new leadership, certain major partnerships still in talks, and multiple federal investigations underway, Nikola's future remains in the balance.